So Adam, please tell us what your plan is.
All right. Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me all right?
I certainly can.
Okay. Well, I'd like to start by saying that this has been a really exciting project for both Luke Champa from MetroCOG and myself to work on. One that we've spent a number of hours holding different conversations. We've allocated a number of hours for staff time, looking not only at recreation features, but other key amenities along the future diversion corridor. And then also, what's the best potential route to achieve that overall vision developed as part of this plan? And do you have the presentation queued up, or I can bring it up here too? This works, yeah. So if you want to scroll down here a little bit, with the opportunity to create a 30-mile plus greenway, several key points we just want to highlight here is that it would host a wide variety of seasonal recreation that could be utilized both in summer and winter time. We also see the greenway as a way to reinforce the natural landscape and promote wildlife habitats, but also a way to generate economic benefits and really kind of enhancing the brand of the FM area as a whole. If you want to scroll down a little bit more, throughout the course of this plan, in addition to the study review committee meetings that we held dozens of meetings with multiple jurisdictions, organizations, and other stakeholders. And this slide is just meant to highlight some of those potential stakeholders that we did reach out to as part of this plan. Scroll down a little bit more. We've touched on this slide in the past, but the first round of public engagement that we held last year, last summer and fall, including presentations, not only to the jurisdictions that were represented as part of our study review committee, Fargo, West Fargo, Horace, Cass County, but we also did outreach to Moorhead and Clay County, as well as communities like Harwood and Argusville, to make them aware of what we were working on. We also held a number of focus groups, discussions with recreation clubs, economic development representatives, and environmental and educational organizations to get a better sense of some of the needs and desires of these different groups, as well as the community. And then at the bottom there, we did several pop-up booths in Fargo, West Fargo, and Horace, as well as a public open house at the Rusted Recreation Center in West Fargo. And with all this public engagement, we reached out to nearly 400 people during this first round. During the second round, which we held this summer, this included a virtual public engagement meeting in mid-June, and then we developed an online survey to get some further feedback on the draft plan. And through both of these events, we reached out to approximately an additional 150 people. So about 550 total people that we were able to reach out to as part of this plan. The next two slides just highlight some of the typical sections that were developed. The first is along the channel itself, and then scrolling down here is what a potential trail would look like along the southern embankment. Scroll down a little bit more. As part of this plan, we developed 11 different recreation nodes located adjacent to the channel and the southern embankment, really trying to take advantage of the natural resources and development opportunities that could be presented along the greenway. Yeah, we can scroll down a little bit more here. Next few slides just show some of the different trail features that could be integrated along the greenway with the hopes of potentially a continuous paved mixed-use trail along the entire corridor. We've also called out areas for single, double track courses, ATV use, equestrian trails, as well as a wetland walk along the embankment, as well as an art walk that could showcase local and regional art that would be located adjacent to West Fargo. The next slide, very briefly, we made sure to analyze not only how the different trails would be integrated along the diversion corridor itself, but how they would fit with proposed transportation improvements and the roadways that intersect with the channel itself, and whether some of these are suitable for further trail facilities and whatnot. Next slide, the winter trails. We also looked at integrating snowmobile trails with existing new snowmobile trails with existing snowmobile trails in the area, as well as areas for snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. And then the next one, the vegetation slide here, just working closely with our project partners to develop native planting palettes, showing open prairies with varying canopy cover, supports those recreation uses, as well as utilizing the wetlands along the embankment. So we spent a bit of time looking at the tangible benefits. Were these recreation nodes and trails to be implemented? And we did find that the Greenway would provide some great benefits to the community that would take the form of both real estate premiums and visitor spending. In total, looking at other projects around the country, it's anticipated that the development of the Greenway would bring in somewhere between $230 and $239 million over a 20-year period. Part of that would come from increased property values, but the other half would really come from that visitor spending. So estimating about $119 million just from visitors coming to the Greenway and experiencing that. Other benefits of the Greenway that we looked at. The first is if you want to scroll down a little bit here. The first is really that it would really support public health. We found that people who live near open trail systems tend to be healthier and suffer less from chronic diseases such as obesity or diabetes. Also, we found that this would be a great tool to attract additional employment to the region, and it's been shown that it's a factor from employers when they're selecting locations, that proximity to parks and open space. And then finally, that this would be a good tool to attract workforce talent as well as students to the area. These next slides talk about implementation and what's needed to make the vision that's outlined in this plan a reality. One of the first important steps that we realized is the formation of some sort of governance structure. One that could leverage the existing capacity for existing recreation, cultural and educational institutions in the area. But it would also be one that would need to be in charge of producing really good quality operations and programming, and also be able to promote some of that brand development, and also help with potentially securing funding from different funding streams and ensuring accountability to the public. Some of the potential roles that the plan found for the governing entity, and by no means is this list complete, but one is that it would serve as a point of contact for the P3 developer and Army Corps of Engineers, as well as providing an initial vision for recreation and amenities. Other components is engagement with the local community, managing programming, and potentially assisting with routine operations. But again, by no means are these points set in stone, and this is likely to evolve after plan adoption. But these do give us some insight to what the governing entity may need to be involved in. So, as a potential recommendation here on the next slide going down, the study does note that our organization, MetroCOG, may be best suited to serve as a lead governing entity at this time. However, we do want to stress that our organization does have limited existing capacity to take on this role, and that a number of different conversations will need to continue here beyond the point where this plan is adopted before an alternative is decided upon. But in the end, though, the governing entity, whatever form that takes, will still be working and coordinating with a number of programming and maintenance partners. This including North Dakota Parks and Recreation, the park districts, as well as other nonprofits and other organizations. The last few slides here look at some of the planning level cost estimates for each of the 11 nodes, which does come to approximately $56 million in 2020 dollars. But this is over a 35-year plus time frame and includes implementation and maintenance costs. So just to note that. We also developed some probable construction costs for trails for the different segments, the rural, kind of the more rural areas, the urban, and as well as the embankment. And those costs come out to about $15.3 million in the long term. And then lastly, the next few slides here show some of the implementation steps moving forward. In the short term, these include, again, establishing that governing entity and ensuring that that is in place, as well as working with recreation and other partners on agreements for potential programming and maintenance, and also participating in some of the initial maintenance roads and trail design, at least being parts of those conversations. Midterm, so the couple of steps here include potentially completing what could be a complete paved multi-use trail, and then also continuing to work on some of the programming and marketing for the Greenway. And then lastly, for some of those long-term implementation steps, measures over the next 20 to 35 years, those include kind of completing some of completing creation of some of those future developments, and continuing to work with programming, operations, and maintenance. So before I conclude, there's two things I'd like to note. First is we are aware that there have been some conversations, the thought of North Dakota Parks and Recreation perhaps taking on a larger role than what was maybe identified in this plan. We have spoken to them, and we do have a meeting with them here in about a week and a half, just to touch base with them to see if any of their positions have changed. So we're looking forward to have a conversation with them to see if there's been any additional conversations about their role here in the future Greenway. And I'd also like to note that we did make some minor adjustments to some of the text of the plan here, based on the recommendations of MetroCOG's policy board, and those recommendations were integrated into a final plan here last week, but that it's not currently on our website. But just wanted to let you know that those make you aware of those changes and let you know that those have been made. But with that, if you have any questions or comments, be happy to take them at this time.
Thanks, Adam. That's really, really intriguing. Who's got questions? A lot of information there. I know there's so much potential for this, and how it gets organized is, I think, going to be really important. I'm glad to hear that you're talking to the North Dakota parks. I noticed on your list that you have Cass County as a source, but I would also mention that Cass County actually has its own park board, and our own funding for that. Commissioner Breitling and all the Cass County commissioners are on that park board, as are some other private citizens. And that entity operates the Brewer Lake campground. So I didn't even know that until I got appointed to that board. But there's a nice little recreation area northwest of Castleton that we operate every summer. So, but that's neither here nor there. But I just think as we look at how we're going to put together this governance model, it's really some thorough thought by everyone that's engaged in this, because it does have so much potential, and I think it's really important. A lot of local input. I'm certain that there will be a lot of civic organizations that would love to see this be developed. And it seems like you've hit on so many different areas, from recreation, horseback riding, arts, and the environment, something in there for everyone. So, comments from anybody else? Questions? Okay. Well, thank you. We look forward to more updates